Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching and listening to this, and welcome to this week's episode of the Non-Identity Podcast. Now, this week we're joined by a man who's the mastermind behind the new kitchen utensil that everyone needs sweeping across the world. Us older people will recognise him as the man who got proposed to by Trina on the hit reality show Hardcore Porn. It's Bobby J. Hi, Bobby. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. I'm so glad to be here with you, Lee, man. Thanks for reaching out to me.
And welcome to the UK.
Yeah, listen, I'm pretty well versed in the UK. I actually have a lot of people from my Twitch community are from the UK. So the Doncaster Mustangs, I'm going to give them a shout out because the American football team over there, a friend of mine from Yorkshire was a coach over there for them. So I got a little history with the UK, man. I love it. I've never been over there, but amazing people that I've met from over there for sure.
Brilliant. Before we get into how you got into the reality show and stuff like that, do you want to tell everyone a bit about where you grew up and what you was doing before that?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Michigan, here in the United States. I've lived here my whole life. I did have a little stint after I left the pawn shop. I left in 2016 and moved to California for about 8 months. Dabbled with some stand-up comedy out there, wanted to see if I liked being on the stage again, and I did. I enjoyed that experience, but I couldn't live in California. You know what I mean? I couldn't. I liked the views, obviously, but that was pretty much it, man. So I only lasted 8 months out of there, out in California, and then I came back home here to Michigan, and just been kind of stringing things together since then. So Michigan is my home base. It's a state that I absolutely love, man. It means the world to me.
And what was you doing before you applied to work at American Jewellery Alone?
So before I started working at that pawn shop, I was at that exact moment, I was in a really weird place in my life. I was in what I would call now a toxic relationship with somebody. And I was actually sleeping in a house in Detroit on the floor on Rosa Parks Boulevard in Corktown. So at that time, I was just in a really weird spot. I really didn't have a place to live. I was kind of living out of my car, living with my girlfriend's friend at the time in Detroit. And I found that job on Craigslist, which was just a local kind of classifieds ads here in the States. It was a website. So I found that job posted there, and the job was just for warehouse work. There was nothing mentioned about a TV show or anything like that. So man, I needed a job, right? So I applied. I went in, had my interview with Seth. He offered me the position, told me my start date. That night, I was at home, laying on that floor on a mattress, watching Fox 2 Detroit News. And they did a story about the reality show starting at the pawn shop. And I was like, yo, I just got a job there. And the rest is history, man.
And was you not told in the interview? Because I know you joined just after season 1 had wrapped filming, didn't you?
Correct. Yeah. Season 1 had already been shot, had already been edited, and was getting ready to air for the first time ever. So no, when I got hired there, I was a warehouse employee. I had nothing to do with the TV show. Was not a part of it, was just there to learn my job in the warehouse.
And what was your job in the warehouse? How does a warehouse operate work in the pawn shop?
That warehouse was probably bigger than most of your normal pawn shop warehouses, right? So there was 40,000 square feet of storage back there. As a warehouse employee, when the customers would pawn their merchandise, the guys up front would get it all prepped, and then it would go on a cart. Okay. The warehouse guys would come and wheel that stuff to the back, and we would start logging stuff where it goes, right? So we had a specific spot for laptops. We had a specific spot for TVs, for video games, for tools, for speakers. Like every item had its place in that 40,000 square foot warehouse. So our job was to put that stuff away. And then when people came to redeem their stuff, to go find it and take it back out to them. Right. So it was busy. It was definitely there were people that would start in the warehouse and wouldn't make it to lunch.
Wow.
They would quit. Yeah, they would quit, or they would get let go because they just weren't up for the job. So.
And was there any time when you was in the warehouse that you saw an item you thought, why the hell would the shop bought this? Right.
There were a lot of items like that laying around. I mean, you got to realize with 40,000 square feet, stuff gets lost, right? Stuff, people maybe they don't come back and get it and we forget about it. So there was stuff everywhere in that store. So to see something and be like, why the hell did we buy that was an everyday occurrence for sure.
And was there any strange items? That,
Oh yeah. I mean, people would always try to, and people always ask me my favorite items. Like there were thousands of items that I personally touched. You know what I mean? So to say which one was my favorite or what stuck out, I mean, there was just people would find things around the city. We had a lot of guys that would do like home demos, right? They would go in and demo a lot of houses in Detroit. These dudes would bring in damn grand pianos, pushing it down 8 Mile, trying to get it into us. You know what I mean? And just stuff that they would find anywhere, man. So you name it, from prosthetic legs to eyeballs to people tried to pawn medications before. They tried everything. It was
um,
wild.
so, uh, how did you get from the back warehouse onto the shop floor?
Yeah, there was a natural progression there. So I didn't last long in the warehouse, right? Once the Les kind of saw my hustle and the fact that I just kind of put my head down and went to work. The way that it would work is when you got hired into the warehouse, then your goal from that point was to try to get out onto the sales floor. Now we're on the sales floor. We're not stuck in the back anymore. So you get pulled to the electronic side now of the pawn shop. So now you're selling everything from TVs to DVD players, video games, everything. Furniture, whatever's on that sales floor, you're selling. So I get out on the sales floor and I'm hustling, right? I'm learning my job. I'm finding my groove. At that time, the show had really started to gain in popularity, and we were starting to get fans coming into the store as a tourist attraction. So the conversation came up naturally about t-shirts, merchandise. Can we sell this? Can we do this? Once it was determined that I think we can maybe sell some shirts, I was approached and I was asked, would I be interested in being behind the jewelry counter now selling shirts? But you want to talk about stepping up? Okay. To get pulled from the electronics sales floor to the jewelry department was a big deal. Okay, because behind that jewelry department was where the money was, right? That's where the big ticket items were. So you either had to have jewelry experience or Les trusted you 100%. You know what I mean? So I get brought now from the warehouse to the floor. Now I'm back behind the jewelry, but at that time I'm splitting my time between selling t-shirts and selling on the electronics floor. So I'm getting pulled, right? Eventually, Les looks at me and says, he hands me the jewelry key to the cases. When he handed me that key, man, I mean, you're on top of the world. You know what I mean? You're Leonardo DiCaprio on the Titanic, because now he's like, I want you to start learning jewelry, start working with Brian. And then Les was one of the greatest mentors there. Seth as well, Brian for sure, to learn jewelry, learn how to price gold, learn how to look into stones. So now I'm not splitting my time on the electronics floor. Now I'm selling jewelry in between my merchandise customers. And from that position on, I never moved from that counter until a few years later where things got shifted around. But that was kind of my progression, man, from the warehouse to then ending up behind that jewelry counter.
So that was like the day-to-day running. So let's talk more about the show. And now, obviously, I'm going to ask you the question that you get asked 1,000 times. How scripted was that show?
The burning question, right? And I swear to God, for as many TV shows as there are on television, I feel like Hardcore Pawn gets the brunt of that show's fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a question that I've been asked for my entire time since I've been there and then after. There was no scripts. Okay. So when I came into work on a film day, I would come in and start putting the jewelry in the case like we have to do every morning, right? We got to load everything up. We're getting ready for our day, man. The audio guys would come over to me. They would put my mic pack on me and say, we'll see you when we see you. And I just go to work, right? Now, the items that came in, people were always like, well, I can't believe stuff like that would walk in. Well, first of all, you need to believe that stuff like that could just walk in off the street because it's Detroit. There's a lot of shit that happens. You know what I mean? When it came to the items that were kind of weirder, I kind of have a sense of what they did was they would look around on the local Craigslist for people selling items. Okay. and the show would reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to try to sell your item on the show? Okay. With no guarantee that we would buy it or not. So yeah, maybe there was some outside sources getting those customers to the store, but the negotiation, the deal, the money was all real. All the interactions between customers, if they were fighting or getting thrown out, real. That stuff happened whether there was cameras there or not. You know what I mean? But as far as scripts, we were never directed on what to do, what nothing like that is when it came to these deals. I did say, of course, storylines are created in shows. If anybody watches any TV out there and thinks what they're watching is real, boy, do I got some stuff to sell you. Okay, let's talk. You know what I mean? Let's talk.
That's like I know you might have heard the show Big Brother
Mhm.
in America, but when it started in the UK, the
Yes.
first two seasons, it was very natural and organic because all it was meant to be was an experiment
Sure.
inside the house, and then it turned into a game show.
Sure.
So then obviously the production companies realised that people don't want to see Drive down the pub; they want to see Tracy, who like screams
Yeah.
and shouts and is the alcoholic or what. So we're bringing them type of people. So I think
Sure.
that as more the seasons went on, it left the reality side of it. Did that happen in the store? The more the seasons went on and the more popular the show got, because watching the show, I got introduced to the show probably in about 2008. My father-in-law lives in Indianapolis.
Okay.
So obviously we didn't have it in the UK at the time.
Right.
And I was sitting in the house one time, just flicking through the TV, and it came on. So I thought, I've seen porn stars, and
Yep.
I like that type of thing, and storage wars and all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'll give this a go. And then watched it. Thought, actually, this is quite good. How can I watch more of that? So when I got home, searching the internet, stuff like that, and then started watching the episode. But it just seemed like there was two things going on at the time. So you had your day-to-day running of the store and your items coming in, but then you had the storyline with the gold throughout the episode. So it
Sure.
could be like Seth tries to sell the store. So it
Sure.
starts off with. So do you reckon there was like production meetings in the morning with the gold saying this is sort of the feel of where we want to go, and then we film the day-to-day running? Or do you reckon the Golds themselves sat down and sort of created some storylines?
Yeah, and I guess I'm going to be honest with you. I was not privy to any of that, right?
Yeah.
Like I was not listen, I can remember obviously opening up in the morning, and I do not remember ever seeing them huddled together being like, "Wait, this is what we're doing today." Now they may between the production team went over what items were coming in for scheduling, things like that.
Yeah.
People seem to think that I had more to do there with the show side when I didn't. I was just an employee that was able to participate in the stuff that I did. So I never got paid extra for being on the show.
And that's what I was going to ask. On filming days, was you a cast member or was you an employee?
I was an employee. I was always an employee, right? That was my first and foremost. If they came to me and wanted to use me for maybe an item that they thought I would be good with, that was always approved by the Golds, right? Yeah, you could take Bobby, you can use him. If I was selling with somebody, with a customer, I would have to finish my transaction, right? Then go back. So for me, I was getting constantly pulled from one job to, yeah, we want you to run this deal or something like that. But again, like I said, I wasn't involved in anything more than just what was presented to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So in reality, it was as authentic as it could be to have a camera crew in your shop and people coming to you. So
yeah, and I guess I think anybody with common sense can sit and realize that, okay, yeah, maybe they do need to, create some storylines and stuff for the show. But a lot of those deals and interactions and people you saw getting thrown out, I mean, that stuff happened whether there was a camera there or not. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. So,
and is the dynamic between the Golds, is that real or is that for TV? Because like Les seems very family orientated, but then obviously Seth and Ashley are very at each other's throats. Was that on a day-to-day basis as well when the cameras were away?
It's their dynamic, tight as could be as a family, right?
Yeah.
They were
comes across.
Yes, and I think it comes across pretty well. Now with that tightness and with family, with business, with a stressful job, with trying to, you know what I mean? There's a lot. When I watch scenes back, I know when they were really Like I could feel it. You know what I mean? I can feel when a scene or when Ashley was maybe really upset or really hurt because like you said, that dynamic of reality and real TV, there's real emotion. We're real human beings. You know what I mean? So yeah, trying to balance real work with TV. It was I don't know how they did it because it does get in the way of things, you know what I mean? For sure. Luckily, I was just an employee, but I did get caught in between some of that family drama for sure. But at the end of the day, they're a family like anybody else's family. They're not perfect, but they're perfect for each other, you know?
Exactly. No, I get what you said. So when I was a teenager on a weekend, I used to help. My nan used to run a kitchen in golf courses and stuff like that. So I used to go and help out at work, and the tension sometimes in
Yes.
the workplace would cause arguments that I'd go and stay at her house and we wouldn't be speaking to each other
Yeah.
because something that happened earlier on at work. So it's like
Yeah.
you put family and business together sometimes, and it can
It's
cause
tough. It's
a lot
and
of stuff.
especially a business like that because it's stressful, right? There's a lot going on in that business every single day. So
Throughout the seasons and stuff, and the more people were using that, did it cause any friction between the staff? Like, was there any jealousy of that person's getting TV time, or this person's becoming a bit more famous than someone else?
you know, I guess I can speak wholeheartedly on this because I felt like, yeah, there was some animosity towards me from some of my coworkers for sure. I'm not going to name anybody by name, you know what I
Okay.
mean? Because these people at one time were very important to me. But as things started to pick up and I started to get pulled away more from my regular duties. Of course, I could feel it. You know what I mean? I didn't realize at the time, but I'm an energy person. I'm a vibe person.
Yeah.
I hadn't started my journey back then, and I was kind of caught up in the whole thing of where I was in my time frame at that point. But I could definitely look back and feel that these people felt some type of way towards me. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I guess I didn't really care because it was the golds that were saying, Bobby, come and do this. It was, you know what I mean? I'm trying to navigate a job, whatever this thing is with the show, you know, and I guess I felt it, but I didn't really care that anybody was feeling some type of way. You know what I mean? I was doing my own thing. So
And did you feel at the time that it changed you as a person? Because you was a young guy sleeping on someone's floor, and then all of a sudden you're in this shop, and then you're being thrown out onto TV. Did you sort of get an ego?
yes. So I've never looked at myself, even when that show was at its height, right? And we were on top, we were pulling a million viewers on True TV. I have never looked at myself as a celebrity or as a famous person, right? I've always looked at myself as a dude that had a cool job that got lucky. Okay. Back then, though, when I see clips of myself, and I see and I hear how I talk, I completely see my ego. I feel it, and there's sometimes it's uncomfortable for me to see myself, you know, in that position, because of where I am now. I mean, I was in my early 30s on that show. I'm 42 now, you know, and I've been through a lot since that show. And I've dropped that ego. I've done a lot of work on my spirituality and where I'm at now. So very thankful, but definitely not the same guy that I was in those clips. You know what I mean?
Well, I also think it's sort of inevitable that to happen. Like it's not obviously the thing. So when I was 15, we had a production company to come to our school, and I was auditioned for a part for a program on CBBC Two. It was a courtroom drama, and I had to play the defendant. And back then, obviously, the cable weren't big or anything like that. So BBC Two was the height of children's TV. So I
Okay.
had a spot on a Sunday morning. My show was coming out at 11 o'clock. So it was like prime time children's TV time. And I had a live interview on the TV. And then, because I wanted to be an actor when I was younger, and I got very naive. I thought, I've been on telly now. I've been at prime time thing. People are going to phone me like
Right.
that. So I just sat back and just thought, it's all going to come to me. And I had 2.5 weeks where I'd be on the bus and people recognised me. And
Mhm.
even just for that 2 weeks, it gave me a bit of ego.
Sure.
So I'm
Sure.
pretty sure you're a young man at the time, and all of a sudden you're getting all this attention. I bet you
Yeah.
couldn't walk around Detroit without people.
Well, yeah, there was definitely getting stopped, you know what I mean? Pictures, conversations. I've met so many people just on the street. And now, oddly enough, even where I'm at in Michigan now, lately I've been getting recognized again. I don't know if that's the resurgence of everything going on TikTok or because it's playing locally up here now. I'm not sure, but yeah, ego is, and I think that suffered a couple people at the shop, right?
Yeah.
It hit them pretty hard. Luckily though, like I said, I see my ego in the store, but I never carried myself as anybody better than anybody outside of the store. You know what I mean? Even when it was at its height, man, I just was never comfortable looking at myself like that, you know.
And talking about the surgeon on TikTok, so obviously Les, Seth and Ashley have been talking on TikTok clips about the show maybe coming back and stuff. Do you think there's a place in sort of now society that show like that could happen? Because back then when it was airing, it was sort of the Jerry Springer age. So outrageous TV was allowed.
Yes.
But it seems like the world's changed its direction now. So like us growing up, we were brought up on Jerry Springer, so seeing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if stuff like that was to happen, that'd probably be taken off the TV.
You make a very great point, man. And people have asked me, do I think it would come back? I'm with you. I don't think our society would be able to deal with it. I really don't. There's been a couple comment sections that I've went through, just skimming through for some clips, and just the feel of how people are taking or responding to the clip lets me know that they're not ready for Hardcore Pawn 2.0. You know what I mean? Because people don't realize that things happen between people, you know what I mean? And this is real life, man. And we can't, when you're in a business like that, you can't cater to people's feelings. It's you come at us sideways, we're coming right back at you sideways. You know what I mean? There's things that are said. It's just, I think we're too sensitive of a society for shows like that to be around right now. I really do, you know.
And what was your most favorite thing that you filmed in the store, and then what was an exciting or scary time that happened off camera?
So I would say, I guess my favorite thing whenever anybody ever asks me is the whole thing was my favorite. Okay. From every pawn that I got to do, every deal that I did, whether it was on camera or off, whether it was the dunk tank or the latex vacuum bed, you know what I mean? All of it was my favorite because I don't know many people that got to experience something like that. You know what I mean? So when I express my gratitude and my gratefulness for every single thing, whether it was good or bad at that store that I got to experience, I mean it. It comes from a place of love for me because it changed who I am. You know what I mean? It's cool to look back and see it now. I'm thankful for it, but it doesn't define who I am now either. You know, the worst thing that ever happened, there was 3 incidents that I would say were my top 3 scariest. One was the kids that were breaking in the cars. If you've seen that episode, if you watch that clip back, when that camera comes running out through the cars, you actually see me holding the guy at gunpoint.
Oh wow.
So that was a scary incident. The power going out was a scary day. And then the third one was not on camera, is when a guy tried to smash was going to go smash one of our jewelry counters with a hammer.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had him at gunpoint in the store with hook. It was those, like I said, real things happened there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
especially in a place like that, because once it becomes on TV, it's sort of advertising. We've got all this expensive stuff here, and we've got loads of cash on site.
We never, I mean, there was weird things, but we never had, like, there were serious situations. Was there ever a big one? No, not while I was there. Was there big incidents? Sure. You know what I mean? Did stuff go down? Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, it went down. 8 Mile in Greenfield, baby. Detroit, you know?
Yeah, because to me, it seems like a weird place to have a shop like that, because of we only got the perception of Detroit and 8 Mile sort of off of Eminem and the film 8 Mile. So it seems like a very deprived area. So then to have I know, and I get, in a way, pawn shops are great for poverty because that helps people out of a sticky situation there and then. So I get it's a good location to have it.
Sure.
But then it's also a strange location to have it if I'm getting the vibe of Detroit 8 Mile right, because it's sort of in the centre and you've got loads of like expensive jewelry and cars.
I mean, we were close to Southfield. So we were we weren't downtown Detroit. Okay. We were at 8 Mile in Greenfield, which if you hopped on the Lodge, which is a freeway that'll take you down to right into the heart of Detroit, that was maybe a 10-minute drive down the lodge to where Detroit's a big area. Okay. Detroit's a huge area. So where we were was closer to Southfield, but we were on 8 Mile and Greenfield. And you're right, right? When you said that it's a place you put it in the lower income communities, listen, people down there are real human beings that are struggling, right? They have no other means of help. They can't go into a bank and you know what I mean, bad credit, stuff like that. That's just the nature of the area, okay? But there are people that just need a chance, man, that just need some help. They're a human being, you know. So we had customers there that had been lifelong customers, you know, would come in, do business with us, didn't need the hype, just would come in. I had one customer, Miss Johnson, she would come in every week and rub my head for luck.
Oh.
You know what I mean? She would see me as soon as she walked in and come over and rub my head. So there was such great people in that community that I forever is a part of me. You know what I mean? Of being down and working in that and genuinely trying to help people. You know, it was great. It was great. Despite how you feel about it, we still had a job to do, you know.
Exactly.
So
did you ever get any feeling off of people that they were entitled for you to give them money because you was a TV star and the shop was on TV? So that item you need to sell them. They're like, well, hang on, like, you're on TV, so you've got money to give me.
Of course. So there was always a sense of entitlement, right, with our customers, because you got to understand when it comes to pawning something, there's a lot of emotion there because it's their personal item, right? So
you might see it as a win, but that's a grandmother could have gave someone that win,
right?
But in a business sense, it's just a win that you need to sell on.
Right. I'm sure your grandmother was sweet, but I don't give a shit that she gave it to you. I can't pay for that. You know what I mean? So what's the gold weight? What are the cut clarity, color of the stones? That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with scrap gold prices. You know what I mean? So of course there was always like the stories that you would hear and people trying to get one over on you and all of the things, man. You know, and you had to take it with a grain of salt a lot of times, you know. Well, yeah, we are on TV. That still doesn't mean that this gold's worth anything more than what the gold weight is. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with anything. So
just out of interest, I don't know if you know, because obviously season 1 had wrapped up. The name Hardcore Porn, was that the network or was that Les's idea?
Crazy story on that, man. So are you familiar with what a sizzle reel is?
No.
Okay. So a sizzle reel is what a production company would use to shop around a TV show idea to networks. Okay. It's usually 8 minutes. So you have 8 minutes to get the premise of your TV show out. So networks will take a look at it. You can find these on YouTube. You have to do a little bit of digging, but you would simply search Hardcore Pawn Sizzle Reel. Okay. Or you would Google Pawn Stars Sizzle Reel, because these two are very much intertwined. So if you find the original Hardcore Pawn Sizzle Reel, it's Les, it's Seth, it's the pawn shop in Detroit. And at the end of the 8-minute show, a neon sign lights up and it flickers and it says Pawn Stars. Did you hear what I said? They were in Detroit, but the show was called Pawn Stars.
Right.
History Channel said, we love the name. We don't like your show. They took the name, started the one in Las Vegas. Hardcore Pawn was a secondary name. You can find this sizzle reel on YouTube with Les Gold and his show named Pawn Stars. I don't know what happened, how it got fumbled, how they took the name, but not the show. I don't know any of that. But that, if everything would have went differently, the pawn shop in Detroit would have been called Pawn Stars.
That's crazy.
Nobody knows that. Everybody thinks Pawn Stars was and it was the first to make the air, but it wasn't the original name of that show.
And I don't know, again, because obviously, like you said, you're just employed, but does that cause a lot of friction between, because obviously networks compete with each other, but are they competing with each other? Or
I don't think so. Listen, those shows were so wildly different.
Yeah.
That, okay, the only similarity was we're both pawn shops.
Yeah.
But that's where it ended, right?
The thing I liked about Pawn Stars, it's very educational because it seemed like every item that come in needed an expert. So you've got the history and you've got all that stuff. You guys were real. It was like literally, do you want to buy this? Yes or no?
Mhm.
And that's why I like the difference. So one was sort of reality, one was educational, and you get it from the network, History Network,
Yes.
Educational Network, through
Keep that
TVs. We like,
keep that in mind with every one of those historical items.
yeah,
What channel were you watching that on?
exactly.
I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not gonna elaborate on this.
Yeah,
Who do you think really owned those historical items?
yeah, no, I get
Do a
it.
little bit of thinking here, right? So it like hardcore pawn is so fake, blah blah blah. But Pawn Stars is so real because there's just a dude that has Spanish gold from 1693 that he found,
He was
right?
famous,
Okay.
and
Yep.
the shop's got an expert out the back who can come out and
It's
tell
no
you about
different, man. It's no different, right?
it.
It's no different. So the thing is about the one in Detroit, like when you would see us, having to handle somebody to get them their ass thrown out of there, that was 100% real. Wait till you see if you find that Pawn Star sizzle reel, you'll be shocked, man. You'll be
I'm
shocked.
going to be looking straight
Yeah,
after.
man. Yeah, man.
So how did the show come to an end? Was it like a mutual agreement, or was it just run its course, or?
It was the weirdest thing ever. So when the camera crew would come, they would come for 3 to 4 weeks at a time and shoot every day with us open to close. So there was a lot of, we worked very closely with these people for years. And then typically how it would happen is everybody, the camera crew, all the audio guys, we would say our goodbyes. Hey, see you in a couple weeks. And they would come back. The very last time I remember was around Christmas. So we were taking our holiday break, from filming. We said our goodbyes to the camera crew, said, hey, see you next year. And they never came back.
Wow.
There was never a store meeting. We never heard that the show ended. It just ended and nobody said anything about it. Nobody asked. It was just, we just all went back to work. They never came back. So the one thing that I read on the internet, which I think makes the most sense, is at that time, True TV was looking to probably change their format.
Yeah.
And Practical Jokers had taken over that network. They were looking to get rid because at that time, South Beach Toe, Lizard Lick, Hardcore Pawn, all of those got kind of canned around the same time. I'm just assuming that a new exec had come in and said, we don't need these anymore. We're moving on. But I don't have any other insight besides the internet rumors. So,
So you just got to make your own assumptions.
Yeah.
So what was life like? Because you stayed another year after the show
Mhm.
ended. So what was life like in the store after the show had gone? Was it like
business as usual? It's
Yeah.
business as usual, bro. We would just go in, go to work, but we would still have a bunch of fans coming in, right? We would still be taking pictures with people. We would still be signing autographs. All the things, just no camera crew, no TV, just normal days. I stayed there for about another year, maybe year and a half after I left in January of 2016. And during that time, in between the show ending and when I left, I was just trying to better my position in the store, keep my job,
And what made you decide to leave the store?
I had hit a ceiling. I was really trying to better myself in the warehouse position because I had moved back to the warehouse, trying to really get that thing under control, that beast of a process back there, trying to get it under control. So I was trying to better myself in the store, trying to take that management spot in the warehouse. And when I saw that it wasn't going to happen, I said, well, there's nothing else for me to do here then. It was just time to go. I think we've all been at a job before where it's just time to go. No hard feelings, man. Time to go. Yeah, I put my 2 weeks in that night and they let me go at the end of my shift. I didn't even get to finish my 2 weeks. So that was it.
I get that. So I've September I changed my job role from a school that I worked at for 10 years. And it was sort of time to go. It was time to move on.
Yeah.
I built everything I could. And but even I always, you want to get that a bit of recognition off your bosses. So you put your notice in, hoping they're going to offer you something just in case. And it got to the end of it, and my boss took me out for breakfast. And I said, this was after I left and stuff. And I said, look, why didn't you offer me something? And he said, look, I know what you wanted, and I couldn't give that to you. And I think you're ready to move on. So I was like, okay, fair enough.
Okay, that's fair. And I respect that. I respect that 100%. You know what I mean? And there was never, I guess, anything like that. I remember it was Seth and Brian in Seth's office, and Les was on speakerphone, and that's how it ended. It was I think I was aggravated just because of how hard I had been working on things, and that it got kind of just like, I didn't get the recognition. I didn't better myself in that store. I was aggravated. But no hurt feelings now. Like I said, that was 10 years ago to, 8 years ago for me. So I'm a completely different person now than I am, but yeah, like you said, when it's time to go, man, it's time to go. No hard
Exactly.
feelings.
So
So
moving on to after, what did you do once you left the show? What was the next
yeah,
step?
again, I was in a really weird relationship again. After I walked out of the pawn shop on that last night, yeah, I guess my relationship was starting to cave in on me, but I wasn't accepting it, right? I wasn't looking at it, and I was still thinking I could fix it.
Yeah.
And it was so far beyond my control that I couldn't. So I had said to my partner at the time, I said, I'm going to go to California. We were staying together as far as I knew, right? We were staying together. It was going to be tough, and I didn't know how long I was going to go. At first I wanted her to go out there with me. She didn't want to. I now know why. So it was a very, yeah, it was just a really weird time. So I do make that move out to California in 2016. With the thinking that me and my girlfriend are still together. Fast forward to February of 2017, I found out she had been cheating on me and was actually pregnant while we lived together before I had moved out of Michigan. Kissed me goodnight every night while pregnant by this other guy. So that threw me down a hole, right? That sunk me for a while. Luckily, I was around family out in California. I wasn't by myself. Obviously walked away from that relationship. Well, got my ass kicked to the curb, right? So I'm trying to find myself in California, man, trying to figure it out. But I realized that I really miss Michigan, and something inside was telling me you should come back. So I put it on my personal Facebook page to my friends and family. Hey, I'm going to be coming back to Michigan, whatever, but with no job lined up, right? Nothing lined up. So before that happens, I get a phone call from I was a spokesman for a company here in Michigan while I was at the pawn shop. Okay, so I was contracted to do other work. That company offered me a full-time position as their spokesman, knowing that I was coming back to Michigan. So of course I jumped on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah, great opportunity. It forced me to move to a different area of the state, away from my old life, reestablish myself, and it was a career that I needed so much at the time that I didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? So it had me living out in Holly, Michigan. And I did that I was doing TV again. I was traveling around. I was on a couple episodes of car shows. So I was on Wrench Wars and an episode of Power Nation, just really finding my stride as a spokesman, right? I'm in front of the camera. I'm doing what I love, creating. 2020 hits, COVID hits. We're shut down. No more TV, no more travel, no more creating for me. I'm a creative person by nature, right?
And then you're locked up in a house.
I'm locked up in the house. I'm now forced to be working on the computer all day in meetings, in getting yelled at because I'm not responding to emails. And I started to feel like everything was caving in on me. About that time, I started a spiritual journey for myself. I guess I didn't know I was on a journey when I started it. I started watching alien documentaries, man.
Wow.
Right. And just in my free time, whatever, because I couldn't go anywhere. And I just started to realize that I wasn't living up to my happiness. I wasn't chasing my happiness anymore. So in what was that, 2021, I would say, I left that career. I left, man. It was just it was time for me to start experiencing what this existence is all about,
And in your personal opinion, what is this existence all about?
It's about finding your happiness. It's about realizing that we are a spiritual being having a human existence, right? So it's the belief that we're not just here to get caught up in all this bullshit and all this stuff that doesn't matter. I'm here for networking. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to communicate. I'm here to create. I'm here to chase my happiness. Make meaningful connections with people, and just experience this whole thing that we call life, because I only get one chance, same as you, Lee, right? We only get one chance, man. So it's about just realizing that there is good in people, right? Maybe not everybody's supposed to be on the journey. That's fine. But for me personally, it's just about existing and chasing my happiness, letting people be, but while also reaching out and touching as many as I can. You know what I mean? And that's for me. Everybody's journey is different, bro. You know what I mean?
And I get what you're saying, because I know, like, when we spoke off camera, I explained about my wife and her stroke and
Hmm.
stuff. And before that happened, I was just about work.
Yeah.
Anything work wanted me to do, I would do it.
Hmm.
If that meant staying till 8 o'clock, doing something for the school, and then coming home and then my kids wanted to play with me, and I'm like, no, I'm too tired and
Right.
stuff. It
Right.
was like, that was it. I had to earn the money, pay the bills. That was my responsibility for this family.
Hmm.
Obviously, I had a traumatic event, and then you just got to realise, you just got to live it every day. Don't worry what's going to happen tomorrow, because then
Right.
you'll miss what's happening now, and then you'll look back and be like, where did it go? Or I
Yes.
missed out on that because I wasn't present.
The way that I
So,
live right now is I just had this conversation at where I'm currently working with a gentleman the other day. He had started talking to me how he had relapsed from drinking, right?
yeah,
And I could tell that this guy was struggling, man. And this was just me being me. I told him, I looked at him and I said, I said, that happened yesterday, right? I said, well, technically that doesn't exist anymore, man. I said, it's not real.
okay.
It's over. And I said, and you're worried about tomorrow. Are you going to do it again tomorrow? I said, you're borrowing worry from the future. You're not even there yet. So why are you worrying about that? I said, all you have right now is here with me and you. You're in this moment. You're present here. Nothing else matters because it's either over or not here yet. When this dude looked at me and you can just tell when people feel something, right? And he was like, man, I just came in here to buy some weed and you really helped me, man. Like, I really appreciate talking to you. Right there. That was that connection that I was like, this is what we're here for. This is a part of it, right? This is a part just to have somebody take a minute, slow down everything that's going on up here and be present. Because when you're present, nothing else is wrong. You can
Exactly.
control it.
And that's how I got through, obviously, all the struggles with my wife and stuff, because I was just stressing about when she was in hospital and stuff like that. And then I just sat there and thought, well, I can't deal with that in the future. So now I wake up in the morning and I'll roughly try and make my bedtime 10, half 10. That's my day done and dusted.
Hmm.
I only think about what's happening every hour.
Yeah.
Like, I reached out to you yesterday. We set this up.
Yep.
Didn't think about it at all
No.
yesterday. Woke up this morning, right, no 5 o'clock, got to get this meeting together. And at 4:30, I sat there and thought, right, what things are we going to roughly talk about? In the
Mhm.
past, I would have woke up probably at 8 o'clock this morning and started stressing
Sure.
to what I've
Sure.
got thinking, what are we going to speak about? But I thought, no, we've just got to go with the conversation, go with the moment. So I think
Wait,
it's such
so
a
that
powerful message.
I love that because with spirituality, it's about finding that flow, finding that
Yeah,
vibration, letting it just come. And when you get into that natural flow and that natural vibration, man, you don't have to worry about anything else because it's just going to go. It's just going to go.
exactly.
Love
Um,
it.
we're starting to come towards the end, so I just want to ask about your kitchen
Yeah,
snacks.
man.
How did that come about? And I think
This,
it's a really good idea. I see your post from last month, and I thought,
yeah,
well, I'm not getting myself one of those. It's a real
I appreciate
cool
that,
idea.
man. It came about. This is a little bit. This is a personal story. This is something that's going on that I'm currently dealing with in my personal life with my dad. Around that time that I had started that journey and I had left that career, my dad had phoned me and said that he had through some tests and everything like that. He was dealing with prostate cancer.
I'm
Okay.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's again, it's one of those things that we just get faced with, right?
Yeah,
So at the time, obviously, I wasn't locked into anything, and I could afford to come up here and help him. So I said, "Pa," because he doesn't have anybody up here, right? I said, Dad, I'm going to be able to come up. We'll get you through it, and we'll go on. So I get up here, and he goes through the surgery, the prostate cancer surgery, the full removal. He goes through the radiation treatments, and we're waiting to hear, okay, everything's good. Well, everything's not good. Even though the prostate has been removed and he went through the radiation, he has nodes in his chest now. Okay, which are unfortunately uncurable, and we are now on about a 4-year timeline if nothing else happens. Okay, so that's the story of where we're at. How Vibe Chin started was once I realized that I needed to be up here more, that I wasn't going to be able to come get him through and keep my journey going, and I needed to stay. I said, well, I need money coming in, right? I was trying to get, I still do voiceover work. I still do freelance voiceover work. I still have an agent down in Detroit, but I'm on the west side of the state. I'm 3.5 hours away from Detroit.
Oh, okay.
So I said, I would love something that could maybe allow me to just be here more, right? While still making a living. So I started throwing things together, and I realized that I wanted to try to create an Amazon store. Um, so I kind of combined my love of cooking and my natural vibe now, my natural energy of just, man, we're here. Let's have as much fun as possible. I looked at my dad and I said, I think I can do this. I think this could be something, if it takes off, that is going to afford us the opportunity to say, hey, man, we're going gold mining this week, or we're going camping up in the UP. You know what I mean? That I don't have to worry about finances coming in. We can just be happy and exist. And whatever this is going to be, and this was before, I guess, we got the timeline diagnosis. It was just for us to be able to enjoy life, right? So I started, I have it right here, actually, Lee. I'm gonna grab it, man.
Yeah,
I
please
started,
do.
I started Vibe Chin. This is my company. And what this is this is about keeping that vibe in the kitchen, because so much more happens in the kitchen than just cooking, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what I did, man, is I started looking at, I didn't invent this product, okay? I invented the brand, but I did find something that I absolutely love. And they're spatula tongs, bro. They're, you know what I mean? I cook the same breakfast every day. I've cooked a breakfast burrito now for 3.5 years, man. Not with these ones. That's why I put them on my head. But I needed something that I could hold my damn burrito with while I'm crisping it in the pan. So I started looking on some sites and found a supplier of these and had a couple samples ordered. Came up with the Vibe Chin name of that vibing in the kitchen, came up with the logo, did all the things, started my own little company, the brand, and that's how Vibe Chin came about. It was just that love of being in the kitchen, vibing, but also saying, hey man, let's just try to do something for us, right? That I created it. It's my company. Let's get them in. So it's fun. I'm super thankful, really happy with this product, man, and just having a blast with it.
people, if you want to get yourself one, please click the link in the description below.
I appreciate that, Lee. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Right, so I'm really loving this chat, but we have got to come to an end. So I've got
Yes.
one last question, and this is a
Yeah, man.
question that I ask every guest. Your answer will not change your life journey so far or in the future, but if you had 30 seconds with your 13-year-old self, what would you say?
Listen to your gut. Trust your gut. Because the only time that it ever failed me, Lee, was when I didn't listen to it.
Well,
So
brilliant. Thank you. You've been an amazing guest.
Thank
and I'd
you,
love
man.
to have you come back on and maybe speak about aliens and that, because I know you're really into that, but that's a whole different episode.
Oh man, alien spirituality, all of that, Lee. I mean, I'll smoke a little bit. We'll get that going, baby, for real. Yeah, that's my vibe for sure.
So thank you so much for joining us, and take care. And guys, if you want to reach out to Bobby J, he's really, really easy. As I said, we literally hooked this up within a day. So please click all the links, descriptions below to the Instagram, the TikTok and stuff, and reach out. And as you can see, Bobby J's happy to speak to anyone and connect with people.
Absolutely.
So, Bobby J, thank you for your time and take care.
Thanks, Lee, man. Have a great one.